So my friends, namely Lauren and Jocelyn, have gotten bored with YouTube and want me to make more videos. I found this strange that they're bored with YouTube because I have personally been starting to get really involved with the community, watching a lot of videos by some of the most subscribed users that I've never seen before, and also just watching a lot of vlogs and stuff. So it's sort of weird to me, but I've decided if I'm gonna make a video, I might as well make it about something I like and feel passionate about and know enough about to blabber on about for 5 to 8 to 10 minutes, I guess. So yeah, the thing that I know most about, which is emo. I personally am an emo kid. I identify with emo music a lot. Emo music I definitely rant about the most. Like if you diss emo music or comment on something like that, I will rant about it for at great length. So yeah, so I'm gonna start with a history of emo, starting from its influences to where it is now. So basically, it started in Washington, D.C. with Ian MacKaye, Straight Edge, and Minor Threat. Minor Threat is to emo as the New York Dolls was to punk, where it's just a major influence. And the band they majorly influenced was Rites of Spring. Rites of Spring took this feeling in the hardcore scene, because when punk went underground in hardcore, the people became a little bit more strict and unrelenting. And Rites of Spring acknowledged that and wanted to change and make a more open, emotional sound, which they did, which is why it's called emo-core, or emotional hardcore. So they took the sound, and then other bands from the DC area started to run with it, like Ignition and Grey Matter and Tag Nasty and Shudder to Think and Fugazi, and the list goes on. But emo-core is an interesting style because it expanded beyond DC and exploded. In the early 90s, there were many bands that were emo-core, like Jawbreaker and Lifetime, and even into later in the 90s, there was like Hot Water Music and Chamberlain, slash Split Lip, I guess, who really expanded upon the emo-core style. In 1988, when I was born, this band Moss Icon took the idea that Rites of Spring had introduced, and they kind of slowed it down, kind of made it sound less hardcore, which is, some people call it emo. On 4for.com they call it that, but I call it like classic emo, because having a genre and a style that are the same is a little confusing. So yeah, when Moss Icon came out, it took a couple years before bands started adapting the sound, like Hoover, Policy 3, and Julia. And what's interesting about these bands is that they had a social and political ideas, as well as being very introspective, which I think is sort of interesting, because a lot of people are like, oh, emo, it's all introspective and self-centered bullshit. But, if you look at them, like, Policy 3 is a song called Improv Culture Kill, which is about how America takes cultures from all over the world and destroys them. Moss Icon, the longest song, 11.5 minutes long, is a rant about Christianity and the troubled religion in our world and society. So yeah, so these bands had very cool ideas. Just another interesting, they have epic songs, very long songs, like, as I said, Moss Icon, 11-minute song. Still Life never had a song under 5 minutes. And Maximilian Kolbe and Drive Like Jehu, which are really interesting bands because they're both really repetitive and very minimal vocals. However, Maximilian Kolbe I like much better because their vocals are just so fucking intense. Which brings me to my next part. In 1991, in San Diego, there's this band called Heroin, which took the sound that emo had, the classic emo had, and they just upped the ante. They made it the most intense, the most out there, the loudest, the heaviest, the most wild, the craziest. It's amazing. It's like, when you listen to it, anything of it, even, you know, listen to Angel Hair, Antuck Era, or Ass Factor 4, or Mohinder, or anything like that, it feels like the singer in the band is just like ripping open their chest and throwing their heart and splattering the blood all over the audience. It's fucking amazing. That style died out a little bit with the breakup of a lot of bands in the hardcore, you know, in the San Diego scene. So that genre has a weird break in which it got. There were other bands that sort of continued it later, but weren't really part of the original scene. So yeah, in '94, while the classic emo scene was at its height during what was later called the emo summer, in which many of the emo bands were just touring and playing shows and everyone was going crazy. It was amazing. Other bands started coming out from random towns in the Midwest, like Christie from Drive and Sunny Day Real Estate and Boys Life and Captain Jazz, and they started playing the style that was a little bit more melodic, but and a little bit more poppy, which is why I call it melodic emo. But like if you listen to Sunny Day Real Estate or like Mineral, you'll be like, how is this emo? How does this connect to the earlier styles? This makes no sense. You're full of shit. If you listen to Christie from Drive or Captain Jazz and then listen to Still Life or like Fugazi, you can see the connections. Like during one song I was making, I had a riff and I thought I stole it from Boys Life when really I stole it from Still Life. So that fucked me up a little bit. I was like, wow, that's weird. Out of melodic emo grew emo pop, or Pemo, as some people call it, as my friend Quinlan has coined the term. Where like Dashboard Confessional came out in the early 2000s, which I think is destroying emo because it's taking out a lot of the roots and kind of the punkness of it because it's just making it so mainstream. And what I found is if any underground genre is around for 15 years, this will happen. It happened to punk and it happened to emo. I wish I had more examples to make my case stronger, but yeah. At the same time as Dashboard Confessional though, there was a thing I like to call emo metalcore, in which bands took the main ideas of emo, hardcore, and metal and combined them. Like the very first band was From Autumn to Ashes. If you listen to them, their first album, they have a song called Chloroform Perfume, which is a very nice song, and then they have Reflections. It starts out, it's a very nice acoustic-y song with nice vocals, and then it bursts into this metal song, and you know, you're just like, yeah! It's amazing. At the same time, before even this, during melodic emo time, there are a lot of bands that grew out of emo-core and melodic emo, and made emo post-hardcore, bands like Cursive and At the Drive-In, and Arms Went Back, who took the sounds that emo had already been carved and kind of took them in a different direction. And these bands have become fairly popular also, but they are very connected to the original sounds of emo and emo-core and stuff. Well, not the original, but like the early emo-core and stuff. That's when it's at its height. But yeah, also there's been an interesting thing with screamo bands that have come out that kind of are an extension of the old hardcore emo bands, in which they, like bands like Saetia, City of Caterpillar, and Orchid, they kind of took the intenseness and amazing craziness and loudness of Heroin and Mohinder and bands like that and brought it to the new millennium. To review today, we are stuck with emo pop, which is destroying the genre. We have emo metalcore, which in a way is destroying not only emo, but hardcore and metal from becoming so mainstream and so poppy. Like bands I used to love 2 years ago are just becoming so fucking whiny. I mean, goddamn. And emo post-hardcore. Yeah, I hope I haven't bored you too badly, but this video is definitely shorter than the first cut I had.